You know the S3 I showed off in this video? Yeah, well that belonged to my friend Andrew, and now it belongs to my friend Callum, and it's 2017, so I mean it's totally worth a brand new video. So hey guys, my name's Ryan Thomas, this is Failtech, and just how useful is the 720p X flagship in 2017? A standout issue is that the plastic is peeling off the back, which really doesn't reduce usability and is about too easy to replace as a cup of tea on a desk, so it's not really a problem. Also, another issue is that you have the old version of Android, but we'll get into why that's not really a problem again later on. This phone was released 4.5 years ago, and when it gets to September it will be 5 years since this phone came out. You can get this phone for between a £30 and £100 hole in your wallet, meaning it's a pretty big jump because it depends on 1, where you get it, and 2, what condition you'll get it in, and 3, actually what colour you get it in. Oddly, it's strange, but it actually does depend. They can jump up by 10 or 20 pounds. For design, it's classic Samsung, meaning that you get a rounded plastic frame with a Gorilla Glass 2 coated front. The build is, like I said, typical Samsung mobile, and so you get plastic edges and a removable back. It's not going to feel anything like an HTC One or an iPhone of the same era, but it does give you plenty of an ergonomic design and a good feel in the hand. The bezels are slightly larger with a screen to body ratio of damn near 66% with a screen size of 4.8 inches. Along with this, the edges are very rounded. It's a very curvy phone. Real phones have curves, ladies and gentlemen. I like the simple design of 2 capacitive buttons flanking the physical home button up front with side buttons, and a top, center, rear camera with headphone jack up top and micro B port on the bottom for charging and sync. It's very typical, and if you've owned a Samsung device in the past, you'll know it's pretty much exactly the same. The screen is actually pretty good on this device. It's a 4.8-inch 720p Super AMOLED panel that I'd call very usable, primarily due to the fact that it's AMOLED, and I love AMOLED. But at 4.8 inches, 720p is also great, especially for this price too. Colours look great and it gets bright even outside too. The size is what I'd call perfect for an average person, because a lot of people like the iPhone standard size, and that's literally 1/10 of an inch slightly smaller than this, so you basically can't tell the difference in size. The 306 pixels per inch may put some people off, but I find it very usable, and Callum loves the panel on his phone due to it being AMOLED. Once you actually see that it's AMOLED and you kind of make good use of that, it doesn't really matter what resolution it is. Text elements are slightly on the smaller side due to the fact that he's using a setting that would reduce this, and the only thing I'd say is that you could get a G3 for almost the same amount of money, literally a little bit more money, with quadruple the resolution of this screen for the same price. The camera on this bad boy is also pretty good considering the circumstances. The app looks dated, but you can of course download another. There's a short delay when taking photos, so high-speed photography isn't going to be the best here, but it's certainly not the worst. Autofocus are relatively fast and accurate, but not 5D Mark IV or A6500 fast. It's an 8MP shooter with an aperture of f2.6, so low light is arguably terrible, and you won't be getting any bokeh-licious shots either. It can shoot 1080p at 30fps, which is pretty alright, and I would call it usable for Facebook footage by just viewing it on the device, so viewing it on a bigger display might show a worse overall image. I'll leave links to samples from other users in the description, but Callum doesn't seem to mind it at all, and I guess it's then based off your preference and your standards. The secondary camera is not bad either. Of course, I should know because Callum sends me all dem selfies on Snapchat in it. No, but seriously, a 1.9MP shooter capable of shooting 720p at 30fps. Also with an f2.6 aperture, low light is even more awful than the main camera, but it's still quite usable, like I said, just for Snapchat and stuff in good light. In my previous video about this device, I mentioned it had just 1GB of RAM. I was in fact wrong, because this is the i9-305 model, meaning that it has 2GB of RAM. Sorry about that. It is also packing the Exynos 4412 quad-core system on a chip that is modest for an old phone and can power through most things here. There is a decent amount of lag in heavily demanding games, but for simple 2D titles it works just fine. In terms of running apps, the 2GB of RAM helps with multitasking, and Callum found that pretty much no issues are going to be had when using this device for running stock software, and he is running stock software, by the way. Talking of stock software, the S3 runs TouchWiz, which is a heavy skin on top of Android 4.4.4 KitKat, although you can install Lineage OS with some tweaks which I think my subs will be happy to help you with, due to the fact they all told me to install a new OS on it when I released the previous video. Mileage may vary though, but I found stock software work just fine, and so does Callum. He plays Clash Royale, watches YouTube videos, uses Facebook, Instagram and Snapchat without any problems, and that again is on 4.4 KitKat, and he's glued to his phone. Apparently the battery life is pretty abysmal. I mean, not getting through an entire day. However, you are able to stick a battery back on here or just replace the battery with another one. Callum is always looking for a charger, and so I wouldn't trust it on a used battery, but it's a 2100 mAh cell, so really not the most dense for the phone size either. I would recommend getting a battery back or an external battery bank, which you could use with other phones. The speaker is rear facing, so already not anywhere near the top of my list. However, it does get loud enough and isn't the worst, most tinny speaker ever. It's also oddly placed next to the camera. Not sure why you'd put this here, but there you go, it's an odd place for the speaker. The expandable storage via microSD cards up to 64GB is great for storing media aside from apps, and you do get the swappable back, so it's not all doom and gloom here. Obviously, you don't get a fingerprint scanner, so I can't really say anything about it apart from that it's 100% inaccurate and 100% slow because it doesn't exist. So aside from the fact that you have to hold down the home button for multitasking, it's a decent phone. Not the best, and as you can tell from last year's video if you saw that, my views have turned as it gets older and I have tested more phones and therefore I can compare it to more. So therefore I may feel that it's worse this year than it was last year, and that's perfectly normal. I would recommend it to anyone looking for a super cheap phone because Callum was able to pick this up off Andrew for £30 and you can get them on some used pages for 30 to 40, and again if you get it on eBay you might want to get it, you know, like fully refurbished or something that might cost you near enough 100 if you're really that picky. Although if you've got £100 I would recommend going for something a little bit more spec heavy, such as the S4 or S5. I apologise for that Nino in the background there. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're new around here, please do leave a subscription and like or dislike the video depending on your thoughts. And talking of those, leave them in the comments below. Check out all the videos that I've made on Samsung and Lineage OS, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.